After coming home from visiting my mother in hospice, I found my neighbor hosting a loud party on my front lawn grill, tents, loudspeakers, everything. When I asked him to leave, he slurred. "You're never home anyway, might as well make it useful." I begged. "Please, my mom is dying, I just need some peace." But he just turned up the music louder. Days later, when my mom passed, I returned to find, "Sorry for your loss," spray painted in giant letters across my garage door with a smiling emoji next to it. I never thought I'd be that guy. The quiet, plain guy in a quiet, plain town who just wants to mow his lawn and be left alone. But here I am, sitting at my kitchen table in Crestwood, Missouri, staring at my hands shaking on the wood grain after what just happened. I'll tell you everything. It started 3 weeks ago. My mom had been sick for a long time. Pancreatic cancer? Anyone who's been through it knows what I mean. There's no mercy with that disease. The hospice in Kirkwood was my second home. I'd go every morning and come back late at night, exhausted and heartbroken. That day I was drained. I just wanted quiet. A shower. Maybe sleep. But when I pulled onto my street, something felt off immediately. My house was glowing in the twilight. Music was thumping. My stomach dropped. I slammed the brakes. There were people everywhere. My lawn, my driveway, my porch. Lawn chairs, tents, beer coolers, smoke from a massive grill curling up into the summer sky. Loudspeakers mounted on tripods blasted rap music so hard my windows rattled. Kids were throwing frisbees in my garden beds. I sat there in the car staring like a fool. Then I saw him. Rick. My neighbor from hell. Always smirking. Always just a little too familiar. Mid-40s, beer gut, always in the same stained baseball cap. He lived next door with his girlfriend and her 2 teenage sons. I swear I had never seen a more self-centered human being. I got out and walked toward him, dodging drunk strangers. "Rick!" He turned around with a red Solo cup in his hand. Eyes glassy. Reeking of cheap beer and grilled meat. "Hey, buddy!" He laughed. "You're home! Didn't expect you back so early." I clenched my jaw. "This is my property. What the hell are you doing?" He looked around like he just noticed. "Oh yeah, but you're never here, man. We figured it wouldn't hurt. We needed more space." "You trespassed?" I almost shouted. Rick took a long sip, then shrugged. "You're never home anyway. Might as well make it useful." I couldn't believe it. I felt my voice break. "My mom is dying. I'm at hospice every day. I just need peace." He stared at me blankly for a second. Then, without a word, he turned back toward the grill, twisted a dial, and the music blared louder. I just stood there like an idiot as people danced and laughed around me. No apology. No respect. Just pure, cold indifference. I left. I had no fight left in me. The next few days were a blur. I barely slept. I went back and forth to the hospice, watching my mom fade away. She passed away the following Friday at 6:14 p.m. I remember every detail of that moment. The sun setting outside the window. Her hand going cold in mine. When I got home, I barely noticed anything at first. My mind was fogged with grief. I pulled into my garage, looked up, and froze. "Sorry for your loss, smiley face," spray painted across my entire garage door in giant black letters. The damned smiling emoji next to it. I felt my knees buckle. It was like I couldn't breathe. I just stood there staring at it. I knew. I knew it was him. There was no one else who'd be that cruel. The cops came. They took pictures. Wrote a report. But without camera footage or witnesses, they couldn't press charges. "It's probably just kids," the officer said. I nodded, knowing full well it wasn't. I stared at that garage door for days. I didn't eat. I didn't answer my phone. Something inside me flipped. I wasn't going to let him get away with it. The plan started simple. I installed cameras all over my property. Front door, backyard, sides, even one disguised in a solar light in the flower bed. Every angle covered. I began documenting everything. His parties, his underage drinking guests, the noise levels after city curfew, trash and beer bottles thrown over my fence, damage to my flowers and landscaping. I made a folder on my computer and filled it with dates, times, video clips, and screenshots. Then I started talking. Turns out I wasn't the only one Rick had tormented. The woman across the street told me how Rick's dog pooped in her yard every day. Another neighbor said Rick's sons broke his mailbox twice and never paid for it. A third said Rick parked in front of her driveway for hours. Everyone had a story. No one had done anything, until now. I collected statements. I printed photos. I wrote everything down. Then I sent the full packet to the Crestwood City Council, the police, and the Homeowners Association. The walls started closing in on Rick. The HOA fined him $500 for multiple violations. Noise complaints stacked up. His girlfriend's sons got caught throwing beer bottles into the street and were fined too. The police warned him about hosting parties without permits. His girlfriend started getting calls at her job. People complained about the trash and the noise. For the first time, Rick looked nervous. But I wasn't done yet. One night, I caught him setting up for another big party. I walked over with my phone recording. "Rick, planning another illegal gathering?" He sneered. "You spying on me now?" "Just keeping records." "You think you're some kind of cop?" He snapped. "No. Just tired of your crap." That's when he lunged at me. Shoved me hard enough to send me stumbling into my bushes. What Rick didn't know. My cameras caught everything. So did my phone. Within minutes, I called the police. They arrived. I showed them the footage. They arrested Rick for assault. His face when they cuffed him? I'll never forget it. His girlfriend bailed him out. But something changed after the arrest. His cocky walk, the swagger, it was gone. He kept his head down. The music stopped blasting every night. But then the petty games started. I woke up one morning to find my trash cans knocked over and garbage scattered everywhere. Another time, someone smeared dog feces on my front porch. My car tires were mysteriously slashed, not once, but twice. I had to replace them both times. I couldn't prove it was him, but I knew. I installed even more cameras. My house started to look like Fort Knox. One evening, I got home and found an envelope taped to my door. Inside was a printed photo of my mom's gravestone. No note. Just the photo. I stood there, shaking with rage. My heart raced so hard I thought I might pass out. I called the police. The officer frowned as he looked at the photo. "You can't say for sure it was him?" "No," I admitted. "But who else would do something this sick?" They made a report, but there was nothing they could do. I barely slept that night. I kept thinking about my mom, lying there in peace, and that scumbag dragging her memory into this mess. That was the moment I stopped playing defense. I found out Rick's girlfriend, Tammy, worked at the county tax assessor's office. I also found out Rick had never pulled permits for the illegal shed he built in his backyard, or the ugly deck he added that summer. I filed anonymous complaints with the City Code Enforcement Office. I submitted my photos and videos. Weeks later, a city inspector came. Then another. Then another. They slapped Rick with citations and fines, unapproved structures safety violations, failure to obtain permits, thousands of dollars. More notices came. Code enforcement told him if he didn't tear the deck and shed down, the city would do it and bill him double. I heard him screaming at Tammy in their backyard late at night. Slamming doors. Cursing loud enough the whole block heard. Then, 2 days later, a tow truck showed up and repossessed Rick's beat-up Dodge Ram. He must have stopped making payments. I watched from my window, stone-faced. Poetic justice. But I still wasn't done. I found out Rick had unpaid property taxes. I filed another anonymous tip to the county. They froze his accounts temporarily until the debts were cleared. The cherry on top? I emailed the local news tip line. I sent them the full package. The parties, the assaults, the vandalism, the code violations, the repossession. A week later, a small local paper ran the headline: "Neighborhood nuisance faces mounting legal troubles." They didn't name him outright, but everyone on our street knew. The next morning, Rick's house had a big "For sale by owner" sign hammered into the dead grass. I smiled for the first time in months. I thought it was over. I was wrong. A week after the "For sale" sign went up, I came home from work to find my front door wide open. My stomach dropped. Inside, chaos. My couch slashed. TV smashed. Kitchen drawers ripped out. My mom's framed photo, the one I kept by the window, shattered on the floor. I fell to my knees. I called the police. They dusted for prints, took photos, asked questions. Nothing was stolen, just destroyed. A message. A final, disgusting swipe. I knew who it was. But again, no cameras caught him inside. He must have figured out my blind spot. I stared at the broken photo of my mom. I whispered, "I'm so sorry." That night, something inside me hardened. 2 days later, I got a call from my neighbor, Greg, the older man who lived across the street. "Hey," he said, "I saw something you might want to know." Greg had a doorbell cam. He sent me the footage. Clear as day, Rick sneaking around my porch at 3 a.m., gloves on, crowbar in hand. I nearly dropped my phone. I raced to the police station. I showed them the video. They connected it with the break-in. They already had an open assault case from before. Now they had probable cause. They picked Rick up that afternoon. He was charged with breaking and entering, property destruction, trespassing, violating probation conditions from the earlier assault case. Tammy bailed him out again, but this time, the judge slapped a restraining order on him, 500 feet from my house at all times. The HOA banned him from hosting any future events. Code enforcement continued pressing fines. The city forced him to demolish the deck and shed completely. The repo company came back for the girlfriend's car this time. A month later, the house sale collapsed. Too many liens, too much debt. Tammy packed up and left him. I watched her pull out in an old beat-up minivan, crying behind the wheel. Rick? Rick disappeared. One day he was there, the next gone. Word was he moved in with family out of state. The bank foreclosed on the house 6 months later. The next spring, I repainted my garage door myself. No more cruel messages. Just clean, plain white. Neighbors slowly started to talk to me again. We rebuilt the sense of community he had poisoned for years. We even planted flowers along the street entrance. I stood out front one afternoon, watering my new rose bushes, when Greg walked by. "Glad he's gone," Greg said. "Me too." I smiled. Then I looked up at the sky and whispered, "We're okay now, Mom." Was I proud of what I'd done? Not really. It changed me. I became someone colder, more calculating. I lost sleep, friends, and months of peace. But I'd do it again. Because no one has the right to kick you when you're already on the ground. Sometimes, revenge isn't about payback. It's about survival.